What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and today is a very spooky Top 10 Thursday. As many of you know, my very favorite thing to play is horror games, because I feel like they require something different from any other experience. You might be able to beat great puzzle games because you have a sharp mind and you're able to solve problems. Or you may be able to beat really tough stuff that really requires you to level up and have a lot of skill. But horror games, they require something else entirely. An ability to really conquer your own deepest fears. To progress when every single part of your body says stop. And that is why I truly love playing them. So this week, I wanted to celebrate the genre that's given me the most frights on my pick of the top 10 favorite horror games I've played. Number 10. Dead Space. Making something creepy takes an incredible amount of talent. You want to have that special sense that something about the situation you're trapped in is deeply, deeply wrong. Well, the developers of Dead Space managed to pull that off by studying the nature of fear. They actually watched thousands of different horror movies and beat hundreds of different horror games, all to try and instill that exact perfect sense that you are screwed. Playing as Isaac Clarke, we get stuck on this derelict space station only to discover that it's filled with what are essentially really freaky monsters, every single one based on actual human biology. I love this game because it really ramps up the pace. At the start, it seems like you should be able to just turn around and walk out, but the further you go into this really messed up labyrinth, the more you realize that you are pretty much going to be screwed forever. Number 9. Friday the 13th. The great philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said that man is the cruelest beast. Never does this feel more true than when you're just playing a normal online game. When you're going toe-to-toe with your fellow humans, you truly see the depths of depravity that other people will go to just to score a kill. But really, that's part of the reason I am so in love with Friday the 13th. You see, in this, it's not really controlled by AI. One person's playing as Jason, and the others are counselors. You need to try and work together with your other scared strangers to try and get keys, or fuel up a boat, or do anything you can to call the cops, all in an effort to try and escape Camp Crystal Lake before eventually this giant masked killer manages to grab you. Number 8. Blue Stinger. I'll fully admit right up front that Blue Stinger is probably the worst game on this list, but it's also one that's so quirky you can't help but enjoy it. So we're playing as this special cop who's just stumbled upon this lab that's on this tiny island. When going to investigate, he sees that all the scientists that were working here have been transformed into really macabre creatures. Now here's the weird part though, which is that this game is so bizarre in so many tiny ways, like the fact that it's constantly playing really happy Christmas music while you're chopping apart things in the mall, or the fact that so many of the weapons are like laser rifles or super shotguns. And really, look at the animations. If I'm playing as this super talented cop, why is it I'm walking like I have some sort of weird broken legs? This game cracks me up, and it will always be a Dreamcast game with a special place in my heart. Number 7. Outlast. I think we can all agree that the biggest part of a journalist's job is trying to track down the truth. Asking tough questions, listening to leads, and going further than anyone else can in order to discover what's really going on. Well, that's the main focus in Outlast. We're playing as a journalist who's gotten a juicy tip that they might be doing some sort of illegal experiments in this abandoned asylum. But the problem is, once you get inside, you discover that the crazies have taken over the crazy house. Now this game is so scary it's hard to even hold the controller because you are being constantly hunted by all sorts of different mutant freaks. People who are eating eyes, or giants, or people who are just trying to go there to kill as many people as they can instead of just trying to escape. This game messed me up so bad I had nightmares for weeks, but that's part of the reason you want to play something like this. It is going to scare you in such a unique fashion. Number 6. Dead Rising. Something you don't see done properly very often inside the horror genre is open world games. Typically, combining freedom with scares, it's just not a very good mix. But here, they managed to pull it off by just giving you a bunch of cool weapons and lots of cool stuff to drive around, but then putting in your path millions of zombies. Shambling corpses are in every square inch of this entire mall, and that is what's so gleefully awesome about it. I love being able to just go around and pick up random items and start bashing zombies in the face, or go up to the food court and start combining orange juice into a giant milkshake that lets me run faster, or just random stuff like enjoying the view in the courtyard. Dead Rising is like a choose-your-own-adventure book, except that every single page is filled with the undead. Number 5. Silent Hill 2. Across the entire long history of great horror projects, I think that Silent Hill 2 is often considered the very best ever made, simply because it hits you on a psychological level. Each part of this is so well constructed to try and unnerve you. Seeing the monsters, it just kind of instills the fact that something about this entire world is made to be messed up. I also really admire the fact that now, even years later, we're still kind of diving into all the different elements of this world that they've created. It's so fantastic to see James Sunderland facing his own inner demons in person throughout the city of Silent Hill. This town reflects your own darkest parts of your soul, and here they get downright depraved. I've finished Silent Hill 2 over 20 times now, and I have no regrets at every single hour I've spent going back through these smoky streets. Number 4. Resident Evil 3. Selecting just a single RE title to put on this list was incredibly difficult, but really, the reason I'm selecting 3 over the others is just the fact that it's so fun. This is really the game that gave us the cool mercenary mode where we could just run around Raccoon City blasting zombies for the first time, or just small stuff like the fact that you're constantly being tracked down by the Nemesis monster, having to fight this same boss over and over again and watching him continually mutate into an even deadlier foe is epic. This game is just so well built that even now, I still find myself just admiring so many pieces of it. I've beaten this on every single console I could, from the Dreamcast to the GameCube, and even on my PlayStation Vita. It's something that's aged remarkably well, as long as you don't mind some pretty goofy controls. Once they get done with the Resident Evil 2 remake, I really hope that 3 is up next. Number 3. BioShock. For some reason, I feel like a lot of people don't consider BioShock a true horror game when at its roots, that's what it is. You're transported against your will down to the city of Rapture, and by the time you arrive, everybody has already lost their minds and started shredding each other. The few people who are left alive at this point are hard to even call human because their flesh and DNA is so heavily mutilated. But now, this is where the real scares begin. Trying to go through each of these different hallways and find items and bullets to survive that next big fight is really tough. While it may not be your typical style of a scare fest, you can't help but respect the fact that BioShock is something that's here to terrify your soul. Number 2. Left 4 Dead. This title and its sequel are both incredibly unique horror games because they sort of break the main rule. Typically, if you're trying to freak somebody out, the best way to do that is to isolate them, to make them be alone, whereas in Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, you're actually supposed to bring along your friends. Having buddies to back you up is really the only way to survive. Trying to go through these slightly randomized levels, you're going to be getting constantly mauled by thousands of corpses that are trying to tear your face off, and special infected that can do things like pull you away with their extra long tongues. This game manages to scare me because at the same time I'm afraid of all the things around me, but simultaneously I'm afraid of letting my friends down, of making it where they die because I screwed up. It's a style of fear that's incredibly addictive because you keep wanting to see what the next map could have in store. Number 1. Alan Wake. The Xbox 360 was perhaps the greatest console ever created by Microsoft because, for the most part, it just had so many incredible experiences on it. Things that would just make you want to shoot a bunch of crazy stuff or go on adventures, or in this case, something that is going to mess with your mind while at the same time being incredibly entertaining. You see, Alan Wake is a guy with writer's block, somebody who's just trying to escape from the world for a second and really take a breath. But unfortunately for him, he just came to the one town that seems to be cursed. It likes to draw in different creative people and then use their talents to give itself form. The Darkness, it's called, and in this case, it's now latched onto his writing abilities and made itself incredibly powerful. I've beaten this game and its DLC over and over again, and each time I'm just still amazed by how remarkable its design is. And for that reason, I awarded this game my pick as the absolute favorite horror game I've ever played. Did your favorite messed up game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do it the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh man, I'm not sure how this video is going to come out. I actually filmed this like 5 times with the spotlights on. Let's see if it'll auto adjust. And then I also did it with the spotlights off. And I figured this isn't quite as spooky, even if it is better lit. But I guess I'll figure it out when I edit it. Thanks so much for watching. This really was a fun one to make, and it was straight from the gory heart. Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.